Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions on a Monday. I've got the crazy gang here. We've got Cassandra, McClain is here, Karyn's here, and also Melissa. How you doing, guys?
Good. How are you?
Excellent.
So good.
So today, again, Mindset Monday. This is where on the majority of the time is that we take a look at books that change these entrepreneurs' life. So we'll go through, we'll break them down. But before we get going, can everyone give themselves a short introduction, starting with Cassandra, please?
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Danny. I am Cassandra Craven, the social media content manager for Helium 10. I have a background in film, television, advertising, and I'm really looking forward to having this chat today. Mindset Monday, let's kick off a good week.
Excellent. And McClain, welcome to the show for the first time.
Thank you. My name is McClain Warren. I am I'm an owner of Liaison Marketing, which is an Amazon-focused marketing company. And I am really happy to be here and be on your show for the first time. So thank you for having me, and hopefully I don't mess it up too much.
You will be absolutely fine. And thank you for the work you did on Branded by Women. I know that you've done some promo work for that as well. So thank you. Over to you, Karyn. You've made a new transfer. You're over with Cassandra now. Is that right?
Yes, the one and only Cassandra, my favorite. So yeah, I'm here at Helium 10 as a brand evangelist working closely with Bradley Sutton. And yeah, I'm so happy to be here with you, Danny, and all these beautiful women. And yeah, I come from a Amazon seller background and a marketing agency background. So it's really fun to now be in the mix with Helium 10.
Sounds good. Melissa.
I'm Melissa Simonson. I run the Empower E-commerce Cooperative, and I'm super excited to be here with all these wonderful women.
Cool. So let's get started. Up first, Cassandra, what is your book of choice?
Oh, Danny. Okay, so I was a little on the fence about this one, but I thought, who's better than a creative, innovative genius that we all should be learning from? And that is Prince, the artist formerly known.
Yes.
So it is, and I really I was kind of thinking, okay, should I go for like an e-commerce book or an entrepreneurial focused book? But I'm really a big pop culture fan. Yes. And that's where I draw a lot of my inspiration from. If you've heard me speak at any of our recent conferences, Branded by Women, things like that, I draw a lot of inspiration from that world.
Yes.
And Prince in general has changed my life. Let me tell you, I probably heard Sexy Motherfucker far too young. Music was a huge part of growing up. And when I got older, I got to see him 3 times before he passed away. And I just looked to his creative genius, his innovation. He was such a recluse. So learning about the ins and outs and the intimate details of his life through Maite Garcia, that was his ex-wife who they had the child with that also passed away. So getting all those intimate details and really learning about how close to being such a creative genius is such a page turner for me. And in fact, I actually haven't finished the book yet. I'm still a chapter away, which is something I do when I really love a book because I don't want it to end.
Yeah. Take your time.
Yeah, I want to give it time. And, I'm always pulling from information. Was that my feedback? Are we good?
I'm not sure. Let me mute some microphones. 1 second. Give me a sec. There we go. Yes.
But I just think that his creative ingenuity and the way he started and Purple Rain and winning the Academy Award and going from the 70s, the 80s, 1984, the 90s, and how every show was different. And he was spontaneous and you never knew what you were going to get. You didn't know if you were going to get a 30-minute show or if he was going to play till 5 o'clock in the morning. You just never knew. And I think that's something we should always bring to all of our businesses, to all of our creativity, that's something that inspires me every day in my personal life, in my professional life, is always bringing something new to the table, something creative and something innovative that people have never seen before. So that is the book I chose. Happy to discuss more, but let's hear what everyone else has.
So if you can break down elements of the book, we all know he's a creative genius. I'm a big Prince fan as well. Do you remember where you were when you heard the news? I was like gutted. I remember I was in China. It was 2016. It's 2 o'clock in the morning and the news broke. It was absolutely everywhere, even coming across to China, because obviously the limitation with Google and everything else. But yeah, like there's something inside you. It's like, this is just, it's unbelievable because you think he's this, it's like Peter Pan, right? he didn't seem to change, right? But he was a creative genius, and he probably had one of the best rhythm sections in the world. His band were incredible, and he sat on so much content. I think before he passed, he had maybe 300 or 400 songs in the vaults. Oh, yeah. He's one of the first artists to stand up to the record industry, because he would become a symbol and a slave. I know that's a bit crazy, that, but I think you have to be a bit crazy to be in the music business, right? So like you said, he's a recluse. He was hard work. He was constantly in the studio all the time. He wrote so many records. He wrote things like Sinead O'Connor's Nothing Compares to You. Oh, yeah. There's so many writing credits that he had that no one realized. But yeah, he was definitely one of a kind. But obviously you're from the entertainment industry, right? So that makes sense that you would like that book. What can you withdraw? Like, I know you gave an overview. Break down some things that would have influenced you from this book that you apply to your life.
So, okay, well, you first asked, well, where was I? And I had actually just finished a stint in Atlanta, Georgia, filming a show. And I'd just gotten back. So I was on some downtime here in Orange County, California. We actually had the cable guy over, and we flip on the news, and that's when we hear about it. And just weeks before, he had put on a couple shows in Atlanta, which, again, you hear this, it's kind of like Madonna, oh, doing something, okay, yeah, catch him next time. And then to know that was one of his last shows was, like you said, gut-wrenching. It was devastating. And in the book, Maite talks about, she was actually in Los Angeles, driving down the 101, gets the phone call, pulls over, and just breaks down in tears. So to hear that and to know about the structure, she talks about how she met him. They were 16 at the time. And he referred to her as jailbait, and they waited 6 years to get married. And then how he discovered her because her mother sent in a video of her tap dancing to be a background dancer for him. And I think that was also something that always struck me, is he saw something in this person, much like you said, a lot of Janelle Monáe. He sees a lot of artists, and it's like they just connect with him. And I think that's also something that's super powerful of a creative genius being so innovative, but to see that in somebody else, to know that stardom, that powerhouse is in someone else's eyes. Another thing that I thought was very interesting is she talks about their intimate day-to-day lives, living together. She admits that he had her go to bed in a full face of makeup, which isn't unlike Elvis and Priscilla. He always wanted, Melissa, I know, do you go to bed in a full face of makeup? I know you're laughing. As do I. So, but I think there's a lot of interesting elements there that are intertwined to other geniuses as well, and innovators in the industry, and that he would always want perfectionism. And again, that always correlates to something that we do in our lives of striving for perfectionism. If something wasn't right, if a chord wasn't striking perfectly, if a guitarist wasn't on beat, they talk about filming Purple Rain and how he was just so harsh on the band. But that was to get it right. And I think that's something that we can take it away from. And she just talks about going through meeting him, how they were together in their personal life, what they did on their first date, which was watching a movie. He invited the parents over. So it was all very cordial. And just to hear those, like I said, those intimate details, to know how a creative genius kind of lived his day to day, especially, like I said, someone being such a recluse. And you pull those parallels and you're kind of like, well, what was he doing? What was his daily life like? Because you think of the man on stage and it's like, well, what was he doing when he was just at home?
It's the mystery, isn't it? Like, if you remember, like when you look at someone like him, Michael Jackson, certain people within that era, they were superstars, the real superstars. Like you had in the 60s, 70s, Elvis, Rolling Stones, 70s. He kind of dominated the 80s alongside Michael Jackson, Madonna, and a few others. But it was the mystique. We don't get that now. I know you're the social media manager, but because social media is so open and people share so much, that was some of the magnetism. And I think you found that in the film industry as well. Like, if you noticed, a lot of the actors didn't really do interviews unless they're promoting the film. You don't see them until you're on the screen. And like the motto behind the scenes is like, if you want to see me, you have to pay and see me at the cinema. And they like to keep up that mystique. And that was one of the things that he did. He always kept people guessing. And I think we might have lost a little bit of that now because everyone's so open, because we've got all these platforms that we didn't have back then. And obviously, when you're in places like that, could you imagine the crazy stuff that went on backstage and all that? And if that was social media today, I think half of those artists would be in a lot of trouble.
I do love that you pulled that parallel. I think because I am social media, I think I almost go for that who is mysterious, who does keep things quiet and keep to themselves, because it is like our lives are just on display all the time. I'll also have to tell you, Danny, there was a story. Social media was not allowed when I saw one of his concerts, but I did snap a few photos, to which I was asked to leave a bit early from the concert.
So you got in a little bit of trouble. Yeah.
Little bit. That's a whole nother story, though.
Okay. So if you were to get that book, give it to someone and say to them, you need to read this because of X, Y, and Z, what would you say to them?
I would tell them you need to read it because it describes the parallels of the daily life of a genius. What can you draw from it as your own person? What do you see in him that you can pull in your daily life, in your professional life? What nuances, what little idiosyncrasies did he have that made him who he is? And I think that is the most intriguing part. If you want to know about the day-to-day, if you want to just kind of see the mundane life, which, by the way, isn't even really that mundane. I mean, he's in Barcelona and Germany and all these things at these, lavish palace-like, penthouses. And so, but to get that, how he lived his life, what specifics he wanted, just to get that insider sneak peek into the life of a genius.
Yeah, that makes sense. Does anyone want to pass comment on this book before we move over to McClain? 1 second, I'll unmute your microphone, Karyn. There you go.
Thanks, Danny. Yeah, I love that you chose this book, Cassandra. You're so cool. I love that it's like totally a surprise. I would have never thought you'd pick that. But I remember reading a story about Prince, about how like he got his start. And I believe it was he was opening for Rolling Stone, and he came out in this like crazy outfit, like half naked, and like people were booing him and like throwing stuff. And I just love his integrity that like, instead of being like, okay, people don't like this, I better like, be more like this and this. Like he totally was like, no, if Rolling Stone's audience doesn't like me, then I'll find my own audience. And he totally did. And I love that. Like, I think especially it's cool for like people like us that are like, selling products or trying to, have people buy what we're selling, instead of like trying to be like everybody else and thinking, well, people don't like this, so I need to change. Like, no, find your niche, and you can, like you said, like carve out your creative genius in a place where people do resonate with you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Melissa, do you want to have a few words here?
I would just completely agree with Karyn. That's super insightful, and I love like how you spun that right into e-commerce. That's brilliant.
Cool. Right. Excellent. So we ready to jump over to McClain now? Do you want to give us a rundown? What's the title of the book, and give us a quick synopsis?
I chose 50 Shades of Grey because I think it's the most underrated, beautiful piece of literature in the 21st century.
And I heard it was quite popular with women as well. Yeah.
I'm totally
okay. On a serious one, before everyone leaves, what have you got for us?
I actually brought the book. It's called Shantaram. It is an autobiography about a guy who was imprisoned in Australia for robbery and drug use, or drug selling, I believe. And that's just like the preface of the book. But anyway, he becomes a refuge in India. And it's about his life in India. And I picked it for a lot of reasons. One, it's the best book I've ever read in my life. It has every element you can think of. It has war, it has love, it has poverty, it has travel. It has everything that you can would want in a book. So it's very versatile for anyone, whether you are a history buff or you like adventure, or it has an element of all of that. But more to the point, and if you don't mind, I just wanted to read the first sentence out of the book because I think it really sums up what to me was very valuable in it. But he says, "It took me a long time and most of the world to learn what I know about love and fate and the choices we make. But the heart of it came to me in an instant while I was chained to a wall and being tortured. I realized somehow through the screaming in my mind that even in that shackled, bloody helplessness, I was still free. free to hate the men who were torturing me or to forgive them. It doesn't sound like much, I know, but in the flinch and bite of the chain, when it's all you've got, that freedom is a universe of possibility. And the choice you make between hating and forgiving can become the story of your life.
Wow, pretty powerful.
Yeah, so that's just the first line in the book. And really it's about just what the mind can do, and what, there's a whole scene in there where he lives in poverty, and they really talk about what the slums are like in India. And he somehow takes this aspect of his life where, he's really in the most impoverished area in the world. And he's talking about how humble and wonderful these people are, and how they all care about each other, and they sing all the time, and they're always there to help each other. And I think that it just really helps with the mindset of, you choose to be who you want to be, and you choose to respond to your environment how you want to do that. And the mind is really powerful in that aspect. And if we just were able to take external factors and realize that while we may not be able to do anything with what's going on around us, if our mindset is able to be in a happy, peaceful place, then you really create your outcome, and you can find beauty in anything in any part of the world. So to me, I highly recommend it. It's a fabulous, fabulous book. And yeah.
And obviously what you explained there is perfect, but how are you applying that to your life, or how have you applied that to your life? Have you got some examples?
I think in a lot of ways, I wasn't planning on being super personal or anything on the show, but I was born with an eye deformity. So I've always lived like that. And I grew up with parents that never let me feel bad for myself. And they always said, you can be anything you want to be. Don't let anything hold you back. Right now I started my own career at the age of 36 with a 4-year-old son. I'm a single mom. So I've had a lot of scary stuff happen in my life, and I've had a lot of obstacles happen in my life, but I also really can find the humor and value in everyday life. And I really, I think that's so important, that you can actually look at yourself in the mirror and smile and realize that no matter how hard things can be, if you have a positive outlook, you really create your own reality. It's no one else's fault. It's not because of the economy. It's not because of your friends. It's not because of external factors. It's you that controls how you respond to it. And so I think that's how it resonated with me personally. And I think it would help resonate with anyone, regardless of what your situation is in life, or, what's going on in your life.
Yeah. So, you're practicing basically gratitude, and they say that you are what you think. So your feelings will make you feel physically that way as well. So like you said, the mind is a strong place. And if you're able to harness that, and you're able to deal with stuff and not put stuff into boxes, but be able to see things for what they are. And like you said, is that you're not coming from a place of entitlement or anything like that. You're just like, no, I'm just going to work with this. I'm going to make the best of it. And I think that is inspiring to other people. If they're in situations, like you said, with your eye and stuff, like, it's brave. You come on the show, you stand, you're making a stand for all of those other people out there who may feel a certain way. So bravo for that.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's like I said, it's a great book, and it doesn't matter who you are. Like I said, it talks a lot about really impoverished people and how they still manage to be happy, and they still manage to love. And, it also makes you realize how lucky we are in a lot of ways. So yeah, it's like I said, I can't recommend this book enough. I do not recommend 50 Shades of Grey. That was totally
No worries. Yeah, that was going to be turning into more like a chat show rather than.
Take a look at your face like, wait, you did not mention this book.
Yeah, I know. I got bait and switched, didn't I? You sent me the cover of the book, and I'm like, oh, okay, right, we'll roll with this. Yeah.
I told you I would keep you on your toes, Danny.
I know you do. Most you will. Anyone want to pass comment on this book? Has anyone read the book or have anything to say on this?
I would like to just say I haven't read the book. I would love to read this. It sounds amazing. This actually, the message that you took away from this, McClain, is sort of like my runner-up for the book that I might have talked about instead of my top choice, which is the success principles, because the number one thing is The number one success principle is take 100% responsibility for your life. And, wherever you have gotten, it is because choices you have made, even counting external influences and everything else. And that really is ultimately what it comes down to. You can't control the people around you. You can't always control the situation you're in, but you can control how you react to it, how you respond, what you do about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we covered off this book here. Are we ready to move over to Karyn? Yeah. Cool. Okay, Karyn, what we got?
This is my book. It's called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And so I will admit it's been a few years since I read it, but I really loved it because I feel like it taps into this idea of exponential growth and like the compound effect. And so it kind of starts with this example of like the water hyacinth plant. And so if you see it, like if you plant it in a pond on day 1, you won't see anything happening, right? And then, by the first week, there's like a tiny little patch of growth. And then, by week 3, it's covered, a little bit more. And literally like, it's like day 29, it's covered half the pond. And then by day 30, it's the whole pond. So it's like this cool idea of like, you don't see anything happening, right? Like, and I think this is a really big thing for me because I can be pretty impatient. Like, dang it, like I've worked so hard for like 5 days in a row and nothing's happening. Like, this is so frustrating. I don't see anything. But it's this idea, and this really has helped me like be more patient. Like, okay, remember, like it's day 29 to day 30 that you're like starting to see some momentum. And I really do think this is true, like in anything. Like it literally is like, give it 30 days of consistency and you'll start to see that like compound effect where like, okay, now I'm starting to see some like real results here. And so for me, like the lesson I gained from it is like, don't just like always take like the quick and easy hour. You feel like, like let's hurry in to see some fast results. Like in anything, like sometimes even like losing weight, right? It's like, I'm just going to like starve myself for a day and like hope like I'll look good tomorrow. Like that doesn't work, right? But if you see like, if you just make consistent like small efforts, it's like literally like a penny a day effort. That penny a day can like compound and compound over time. So maybe you don't see anything happening in the first couple of weeks, but day 30, okay, we're starting to like move the dial a little bit. And then a year, okay, like, whoa, I've come a long way from a year ago. And then like literally you're starting to see some momentum. So I think for me, it like really helped me have that like visual of like, okay, I don't need to do crazy intense things, like just penny a day effort. And like having that in my mind of like, what's the goal here? Then I think it's like, it's going to make a difference.
Yeah. So effectively, it's incremental steps each day. They say it takes 21 days to change a habit. And as you do that, the compound effects maybe comes after day 21 or wherever it may be on what you're deciding to do. And it's those daily habits become the new norm for you. So when that becomes normal, then, like with dieting and stuff, they're fads, aren't they? It's like you go on a diet, you come off the diet. No, you change your lifestyle. If you change your lifestyle, you're not on the diet. Right. And it's how you look at stuff as well.
Well, I would say too, just to interject, I don't remember what famous person said this, but they say it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at anything. That's right. Yeah. And to like, that sounds like such an overwhelming amount of time. When you think 10,000.
Isn't it about 7 years? I think that was Malcolm Gladwell. I may be wrong. But I think he done the book, didn't he?
No, I think, it was either 5 or 7 years. But you think about how long that sounds, but really, if you think about anything you did in life, that's, it takes that long to really be an expert on something. So you definitely need that patience to understand that you'll get there one day if you stick with it.
Yes.
Cool. So where would you say from that book you're putting this into your life? But what are the standout things? Give me some examples, if you don't mind, if they're not private. What you're using? You've used that book, and what are the things that you've been experimenting with to make this happen?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's been a minute since I read it, but I mean, when I did read it, it was right in the thick of things where I was doing an e-commerce business, and for me, like, it really was helpful because, like I said, I can have kind of an intense personality where I can like go hard for a day or a week and then slip off the bandwagon. And I'm like, oh, nothing's happening. Like next. And so for me, it was helpful just to be like, I don't have to do anything crazy, like literally. And that's what I did. Like, what are the 3 little things or even one thing that I can do today? So I was like, I can respond to 5 reviews. I can, just little measures I remember in the business that I was doing. And I was like, well, these are having a big effect because I believe they would, right? I believe like this is my penny a day effort, but like I was consistent with it. So every day I was doing something like little thing like that, literally that could take me 5 minutes. And I feel like I've carried that with me with like things that I can do. So I'll be honest, like I'm not the best at like extreme consistency, but like I think little things like I've learned to just do what I can do. So for example, like one thing I think I've been like pretty consistent on is like just like affirmations I tell myself every day. Like instead of like feeding my mind with like negative things like, oh my gosh, you're a terrible mom, you eat so much bad things for you. Like I try to like instead feed my mind with like good things. Like I'm so courageous. I'm so proud of myself for doing something hard and overcoming that. And I say my like little affirmations every morning, like when I wake up and before I go to bed and before I meditate, and just like small little things like that like I kind of wear as like a badge of honor. Like I'm so proud of myself. Like I send my affirmations. I've been doing this consistently for years now. And for me, it's like those small wins or like little things with my kids. Like I try to like be consistent. Like one thing I know I can do is like apologize anytime I mess up. I'm like, I'm so sorry I did that, instead of just like carrying it on and like hoping that, they don't remember, or, you know what I mean? Like grow up. Like it's the little things that I feel like make a big difference. And so I try to remember that, or like even just like exercising, like, did I like walk up the stairs at least a couple times? You know what I mean? Like little things like that. I give myself props instead of like feeding the negativity. So I think that for me is one thing that's like helped me not have so much extreme, but like that penny a day. And then I'm like, okay, like we're moving the dial here. Yep.
That makes sense. Let me just say some hi to a few people in the comments. Yeljin says, hi ladies. Saibi says, happy Monday mindset. Wellington says, outstanding lineup today, sir. It's imperative we teach our kids that anything is possible, especially when you have 2 young daughters like me. It's a lot in today's peer pressure society. Nathan says, hi everyone. Saibi says, so I might be an Amazon expert in 7 years.
Yes. Seriously though, I will say that is interesting to me, just like, because I've been in this community for a while, and it's so fun to see like where people have come from, like when I started out 6 years ago, and to see like, I do feel like it is the people that like continually like making these little efforts that are like really bigger giants today. And it's so fun to see like it is a consistent effort. And like even if you have a big mess up or you had a big fail, like just again penny day effort, like picking yourself up, I think it's really cool to see what happens in 5-7 years.
And I think a lot of people think that money will make them happy, but 9 times out of 10 it's momentum. If you can get momentum in your life, that makes you happy because you're making forward steps and progress, and everything spins off of the back of that. You'll get money through momentum. You get motivation from momentum. Everything kind of can come off of momentum, and it depends on, as an entrepreneur, is when the pendulum swings, whether you're up or down. And we have to ride these peaks and valleys, and it's always good. Can you stay somewhere in the middle? Not overexcited, but be aware of what's going on and make sure you're on a happy trajectory.
That's so cool. And Danny, I have to give you props. Like, I love your consistency. Like, what drives you to be so consistent in what you're doing?
What drives me, I suppose, is I have 3 principles in life, or in life and business. Is like, does it make meaning? Like, so I will turn down 99% of things. The first thing is, does it make meaning? The second thing is, does it make me happy? And the third thing is, at some point, will I make money? If they all get answered in that order, then I'll do it. Because I'm the worst entrepreneur in the world for getting out of bed for a £1 note. I'm not interested. So I have to have something that gives me meaning. If it gives me meaning, I'm likely to enjoy it. And if it makes money, then that's what we have to make a profit in business, right? But I need to, at 44, I need a reason to get up. So then I only choose things that fit that criteria. Hence, that's how I can say no to 99% of things. Therefore, it forces me to a bit more focus. But I am spread thin from time to time, but I only work on stuff that I love. And that's where I'm very lucky. And then I sub out everything else. That may change one day. There are certain parts of business you have to work on as a business owner. Mm-hmm. But with that, it's very difficult not to be motivated. It's very difficult not to have momentum. That's
fascinating. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because I really have watched him, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're an entrepreneur, you're doing this stuff. What's pushing you to keep going every day and to, like you said, get out of bed and keep showing up. So that's really cool. I like those three principles that guide you.
It only took me 43 and a half years to come up with them.
That's
if I'd
good.
done it in my 20s, it would have been a different story. Cool. Okay. Are we ready to go over to check out Melissa's book? Yeah, are we ready? Do you want to unmute yourself, Melissa?
Absolutely. So my book, I've actually talked about this a little bit before, but it's called The Power of Habit. And I don't have all of the hard copy of books. So most of the time I listen to them electronically while I'm traveling or while I'm doing laundry or dishes or something. So this is what it looks like. I don't know if you can tell.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it's The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And it's a really amazing book. I think sometimes we listen to mindset things because it kind of puts us in the right frame of mind to change something, but then we don't always know the steps to take to change it. And the really cool thing about this book to me is that it outlines why people do what they do. Yeah. It outlines the behavior behind it and the true way to change a habit. You really can't cancel a habit. Like, once you have formed a habit, you can't extinct it. You must change it. So you have to view things in a way of, what is the stimulus before I perform this action? What is the behavior I'm trying to change? And what is the reward that comes from that? And if you can look at those things, you can change anything about your life. And that goes for business too. You can also predict other people's behavior. That means their buying patterns. That means they're, what they want to see on social media. So it's a very interesting book. It's one of the stories in there is about the makers of Febreze. They made that by accident. They found that when they were making something else, then it removed all of the odors. This is a guy who was a smoker. He came home one day and his wife was like, "Did you quit smoking?" And he was like, "No." And she said, "Oh, I didn't smell it on you at all." So it turns out that the stuff that he was experimenting with completely removed the odor. And when they started trying to market this, they were trying to market it as something that removed odors. And when doing that, you go to somewhere that's super duper stinky. But the people who live in homes like that are, cat ladies or whatever, they have become used to that smell. So they really don't care or don't notice the difference enough. And so all the marketing they were doing, they were about to get shut down, like fired, maybe, this whole team of people that's doing this. And they finally noticed one pivotal thing. They had one lady who was using the Febreze, and what she had done was she cleaned her house and then she sprayed it with Febreze. And they noticed, as watching this video back, that and that was it. Like, that was the reward, that sigh right after. Like, she cleaned her house, she Febrezed it, and that was like complete. And they changed all of their marketing to show this is what you do once you have a completely clean home, and it freshens everything up. And it's noticing those behaviors, right? That changed their whole marketing scheme and made them go from almost broke to through the roof and in every store. So, and personally, it's important to know these things because there's keystone habits, right? This is when people talk about making your bed every morning. There's keystone habits like this that spill over into everyday life. People who exercise regularly or begin exercising regularly have other bad habits that tend to just drop off or get changed into something else as a function of creating this other new habit. And when you can identify some of those keystone habits, you can change everything in a relatively short period of time. I love Karyn's book. I haven't actually read that yet, but I love the idea of adding a couple things. You can set aside half an hour a day, right? That's not too much of a thing. Tomorrow will come. Will it be better if it comes after you have performed this task, or wait till tomorrow, And I think that that's a a way to actually make that happen.
Yeah.
This identifying the way to form these habits instead of, getting psyched up about it, excited about making a change in your life, and then not knowing the steps to take. So I definitely recommend this book. I've read it multiple times.
Is there anything that stands out, like you can go, oh, I did this when I'd done this project or anything like that? Was there anything key there?
Yeah, I mean, I used it when I had quit smoking a couple years ago. I used it for, I use it almost daily with my kids,
Right.
like these are things that you can use when you want to change a behavior in your kids, when they're misbehaving or something like that. If you know what is driving a behavior, you watch them enough to see, why do they react like this in this situation? So now you know the stimulus, and you obviously know the behavior because that's what you're trying to get rid of, or maybe something you're trying to encourage. And then what is the reward they're getting out of this? When people say, oh, they're just doing that for attention, right?
Yeah.
That has become a very negative thing for kids. But if that's the reward they're going for, stimulate something, change that behavior, and then give them that reward they're looking for. Give them the attention. Then they'll stop doing the bad stuff.
Yeah.
So it's, I use it constantly.
Excellent. So we've covered all the books there. What I'd like to ask you is, like I mentioned this before, like a few years ago, I never used to pay attention to mindset for what it was, because it was normally like marketers trying to sell you the mindset thing to buy stuff. But it's made a massive impact on my life. And I see where I've gone through stages in my life where my mindset is upgraded. Starting with you, Cass, when did you see a mindset shift from you, like some of the patterns?
I would say a couple years into my career. I think moving, you kind of come into your work and you're kind of a newbie. I was fresh out of college and still kind of trying to make my way. And then as I watched more people and learned from upper management, CEOs, executives, and how they handle things or how they lived their lives, I started to take that on myself. I realized that it wasn't all about work. I realized it wasn't, you have to have that work-life balance, and how it made them better people, or better at their careers, or better for their employees, better for their creative endeavors. So I think there was a time where I just focused so much like, oh, you got to work, and a big shift was coming, especially in television. You work 12-hour days, 16 hours on set, and you kind of get rewarded for that mentality. But then when I started to look at the people running the show, or the network executives and the people in the higher up, I was like, that's not how they're living their lives. And I was like, I need to take that on if I want to move into another phase of my life, another phase in my career. And it's made me a better person, even now at Helium 10, not putting so much, getting that creative time and taking that time for myself and the weekend to be better. And it benefits myself. It benefits the team. It benefits all of, our members. It's giving them more value because I value myself.
Yeah. Cool. I extend the same question to around the room, but McClain up next. Just need to undo your mic. Just unmute for me. I'll unmute you 1 second. There we go.
We're good. You can hear me. I probably exact same response as Cassandra. I am very much a people pleaser. And I can be very high anxiety as well. So like, especially with my clients, I'm always trying to like make them happy, like get deadlines on time, make sure that like, they're taken care of. And so it was really, and I still struggle with it. It was really a balance of trying to figure out, okay, I need me time. I need to spend time, like not at my computer 24/7, trying to make everyone happy, trying to like, drive myself crazy because I was wanting to please everyone. And I think a pivotal day for me was when my 4-year-old made some comment about how I'm on the computer all the time, and it's just like one of those like, shit, like I don't want my kid thinking that's normal. I don't want him thinking like that's all life is about, is like on your computer 24/7, working. And even though it's important to instill the value of work ethic and how you do have to sometimes give up certain things to make it big in whatever industry you're in, you still have to remember that life, we're all mortal. We're all going to die someday. And we have these little humans that count on us, that love us, that need to know how to become adults and how to become happy adults. And they look at us and they look to us for that advice. And so it kind of gave me that wake-up call. I needed to realize, hey, it's okay if I take a day off. It's okay if I go on vacation, or I don't answer that message right away, or I spend time with my son. And it's about changing the way you think. And it's hard to change the way you think, because when you become so used to thinking a certain way and acting a certain way, it's kind of like Melissa's smoking. I used to be a smoker too. It's a habit, and to break that cycle of that habit is really, really difficult. So yeah, I don't know if that really answered the question, but
no, it does. Yeah, most does
with that that mindset.
Definitely. Karyn, same to you. Just unmute your mic.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a work in progress for me, but I feel like I had a huge aha moment when I watched The Secret on Netflix probably 5 years ago. For me, it kind of just brought to my awareness kind of what I had been doing in my past, but it kind of brought it more to a system of where your attention goes,
energy flows.
Where your attention goes, energy flows. Yeah. And I was oh my gosh, I could see specific times where I was very clear. I called my shot Babe Ruth of this is what I want. This is my vision of where I'm going. And almost every single time I would get it. But it was very clear what my goal was. And then I can see on the opposite, when I'm just kind of floating around, just getting through my day or my month or my year, nothing's really happening. There's no clear direction. So nothing's I call it the universe, the universe can't help me get what I want if I don't have the clarity to what's the end goal here? What's my objective today? Or what's my objective this week or this year? So for me, that really kind of opened my world. And I kind of became this spirit junkie where I started reading a bunch of, I have right here another favorite, Deepak Chopra. I really geek out on stuff like this. So for me, I think that really opened my world to, there's a lot more at play than just go to work, go out. It's where's your mind at? What are you thinking about? What are you putting into your subconscious, and what are you attracting into your life? Because that's really what you get, right? Is what you're thinking about. So yeah, I think for me, that's really been a huge game changer for me. And I hate to ever say anything, because I don't feel like I'm ever a perfect expert on anything or do everything 100% of the time. It's I feel I have so much to learn. But for me, it definitely opened my world to something that I'm way more conscious of, how I talk, how I think. I'm ooh, I better rephrase what I just said there, because that's definitely putting some negative energy to, it's kind of contradicting what I want.
There's nothing wrong with focusing on good energy. There's a lot of people out there like energy vampires, and so if you can go around being happy, some people it don't matter if you're happy to the point of bliss and everyone goes, what's up with that person? I can't remember who said it, but sometimes you can be happier by not knowing stuff than when you do, because that can cloud your thoughts. You can find stuff out and go down the rabbit hole of the internet and get sucked into stuff and lose half your day.
Yeah.
But then is it really going to harm you if you don't know about it? I know people talk about getting woke in certain things, right? But some shit you just don't need to know. And that can really drag a person down by overthinking about stuff they have no control over, probably never going to happen to them, because it's allowing their thoughts just to cascade away. Do you know what I mean? And then that leads to unhappiness,
Yes. To me, that's an interesting balance, because you're right. Oh man, I've definitely gone down the rabbit hole. Is this helping me? There's some interesting things for sure about, I don't always have the right answer of is it just ignorance is bliss and just stay in my little bubble? Everything is great. Doesn't matter what's going on in 2020. Just focus on me, focus on my happiness. I don't know always, but I think you're right. At the end of the day, if we can at least control how we feel, then I think it does play out into the bigger consciousness, but who knows? I don't have all the answers.
I think Melissa was saying is that, it's how you react. You know, 10% is what actually happens. 90% is how you react. And people can react to all different ways to certain things. And it could be turned on its head. So it's 90-10. But then you can end up living a miserable life if you're not careful.
Yes. Yes. That's such a good point.
Melissa, mindset.
So, oh man, you guys, all of those are such good things. So, I think part of McClain's was, like being a people pleaser. I was that for so long. Like I really, I didn't even realize it. I do remember when I was in college and I was in this class, it was a psychology class, and they were talking about, what if somebody doesn't like you or like what you did or something. And I was like, tough bacon, man. Like, I considered myself somebody who did not care what other people thought, but I didn't realize how much I cared about if people thought of me as like a nice person. That was very important to me. I'm not sure why still. And I didn't realize how much that changed my behavior and how I approached situations, people, the world. And I realized finally, I am a nice person. And if someone misconstrues a situation or something that I said or something, that's not on me. I don't need to like go super extreme to be so kind that it's not helpful to me, or maybe
that falls into like codependency.
Exactly.
It will fall into a different slipstream, and
absolutely,
you just have to be careful that we're not put on the planet and not everyone's going to like each other. You're going to go to a room full of 100 people. I'm sure someone doesn't like your personality, doesn't the way, but you, as you said, you can't control that. The best thing is if that person comes up to you, which most people won't, and say, I do not like you, then you can have a constructive conversation. That's fine. What is it you don't, does that make sense? Or you can not really care. But at the end of the day, again, goes down to things you can't control what people think of you, but you can control your own actions and how you put yourself out to the world.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It really, I finally had to kind of get this little mindset shift to realize I really can't control what other people think of me, no matter how many actions I perform. Some people are still going to view things wrong. If you see a piece of something, there's every chance in the world that you could misconstrue that or misinterpret it. And that's, if they then want to find out more, I'm there. But if they want to view it that way, that's on them. That's not on me. And so it took me a long time, but I finally got to where I could change wanting to control how people viewed me. And I just do and be, and then the rest is up to the people around me. And I think that was a really powerful thing for me, because again, I didn't realize how much that was really impacting my behavior and the way that I approach things until I stopped doing it.
So
and it really is very freeing.
So you felt that it was almost like you go into people pleasing mode to kind of compensate, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, I did stuff that was harmful to me to make sure that they knew that it was good for them. Like not only is like this is not good for me, so it's definitely good for you, and that's not a great place to be, especially when that's how you interact with everybody. That wasn't just like my close family or something. That was everybody. Yeah. And it was not, it prohibited me from really, moving up, from doing my best and excelling in life. And I finally realized, that if I'm living for everyone else, then no one's living for me. And I got to be the one who does that. And
you can't give to other people unless you've got your own house in order anyway. So
that's right.
Cool. I think it's quite an interesting show to get today's. Anyone got any final thoughts before we say our goodbyes? Yeah, Karyn?
Yeah, if we have some time, I would love to touch more on what Melissa brought up, because I think I can really relate. I think, I don't know, maybe not Cassandra, because she's just totally, like, she has Prince. I mean, she's obviously, you are a fearless soldier, just living your life. You're so cool.
Thanks, girl.
But yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I think a lot of times, like, women have been brought up to be a certain way, especially, like, be nice, be sweet, be likable, whatever, right? But it's kind of like Cassandra brought up Prince. Like, he wasn't trying to fit into, like, Rolling Stones crowd. He was okay, like, these people hate me, so they're not my people, right? And it kind of reminds me of, like, Russell Brunson. Like, it's better to be loved and hated than just to be liked, because you're not memorable, right? So that's kind of, I think I would love to talk to you guys more, like, how do you find that line of just, like, being authentically yourself, like a prince, but being okay with people hating you. And you know what I mean? Like, how do you make that shift? Just be more authentic and honest and real, but knowing you're going to offend people, right? It's maybe not politically correct. It's not cool. Like, how do you get in that zone?
Well, it's going to be exhausting wearing a mask, right? And so you might as well just be yourself.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got things you need to fix, go and fix them. You go through the healing process, whatever. But ultimately, what it comes down to, if you don't like yourself, probably no one else will. But I'll guarantee you, Karyn, you're one of the nicest people in the world. But I'm sure there's someone who's got something to say against you. But does it really matter? No.
No, I agree. To be honest, though, Danny, like, I agree. I do hear that consistently, that people think I'm nice, but I'm like, but do they know me? Or do they remember me? Or is it just she's nice because I'm too nice and I'm not being more like genuine or not more like
Do you
honest?
know what? You're better off being known as that nice person than an arsehole. Let's be honest.
That's true.
So
That's
I know
true.
that people have this thing about, you know, it's better to stand out, that someone likes you or hates you. I don't necessarily agree on that, because I think you could build into your personalities like, well, whatever way I do it, I get attention. It's not about attention, right? It's about communication. It's about spending time with good people. It's about circulating in the right groups, and it's about surrounding yourself in the right people. So I understand that in a world, I think Gary Vee says it, our biggest currency in this world is attention. How many people do you know that would like someone to go up to and be snubbed? I think that's one of the worst attributes that can happen to someone. No one wants to feel downgraded or anything like that. And I make a point of that when I'm at conferences and stuff. I give people 100% of my attention, and I speak to everyone. I don't handpick and go, oh, they could help my career or anything like that. If you stop and talk to me, I will give you time, as long as I've got time and I haven't got to go on stage or anything. And I'll make an absolute point of that, because I'm just a normal guy as well. So I don't always agree with Russell Brunson's sentiment, but who am I? He's a multi-millionaire. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I got it all fucked up. Who knows? But I
don't think so.
But I think when your funeral one day comes round, because we're all going to die at some point, they don't sit there and talk about how much money in the bank. They talk about your character and the legacy that you leave. And I think I'd rather lose out on a few extra pounds than go down that route. That's just a choice, but maybe I'm completely wrong.
That's beautiful. I love that. What were you going to say, McClain? I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Danny, I think she's muted on your end, maybe.
Oh, sorry. Let me bring you in, McClain. 1 second. There you go.
I was saying I get really excited about stuff, so I didn't mean to jump in. But right before you guys came on, I was telling Cassandra and Danny that one of my dream jobs was to be a stand-up comedian. And I worked at a stand-up comedy show for a while, not myself on stage. But one of the things that I think is so beautiful about stand-up comics is that they're so authentic. And they're so willing to put themselves on the stage, and they don't care what people think of them. And people either like them or they don't, but every time they put themselves out there, and there's something so vulnerable and real and authentic and beautiful about that. And I think that's something that one of the reasons I really admire stand-up comics is that they stop caring about what people think, and people in response relate to them, and they're like, oh my God, that's what I've always felt, or I've always felt these things, but I never had the bravery or the kahunas to come out and say it. And I think if more people were able to do that, I think we could relate to each other on a way more personal basis, you know? So
I mean, I think with comics as well, it's one of the toughest gigs in the world. Bombing up there on stage when people are booing and howling and you have a bad set, but they've got to test their material, right? And that can be the worst place in the world. And sometimes it's not even the big shows. It's those small shows with 10 people there and being abused by that. And must take some gumption to carry on going through and finishing your set. So, yeah. Tough.
I think another thing to note here is, with the question you asked, Karyn, if you don't make that choice at some point, to like not just be nice, but pick a side, you're just bland. It's boring, like there's no substance there. And I've realized how I must come across to people sometimes, because I was so, everything is fine. I make peace. Everyone's happy, world peace. You have to stand for something to know who who your tribe is, your vibe attracts your tribe, and you have to be against some things, sometimes vocally, to know, where you fit in with the world, and to let other people know where you fit in. And I think that especially important in this is that for me, I try not to bring politics or religion into like my work or professional environment very often, just, because I truly believe that everyone's opinion matters. And what I really respect and appreciate about people is their passion, right? If they're talking about something passionately, I don't care what religion it is. I don't care what political view it is. I appreciate that they believe in something passionately, and that they're willing to stand for it. When you're standing for something, that's a character boost, in my opinion. So, but in professional atmospheres, I won't really go into it. That's
the thing is, you're going to get people, you're going to do projects and stuff, and you have to have a thick skin and have a filter. Like I've done stuff where I believe in what I'm doing, and it doesn't matter who says it or what is said. If I'm on that mission, I'm going to do it, and I have to put the blinkers on and just go, my gut says this is right, and regardless of that person, and they will do, because I ask for critical feedback, and I get a lot of it, but then I have to filter what I need to take from that. And 9 times out of 10, I'll take 1 or 2 things, and they're gold. But you've got to allow that there will be criticisms. People won't see what you see in doing certain things, but you have to be bold enough just to get on and do it.
And I think one last thing to note here is that just because you want to stand for something, or just because you want to, make your opinion known, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to speak before you feel sure. You can listen to everyone else, ask them questions. If you don't know where you stand yet, ask other people why and where they stand. That continues the conversation. It lets people know you're interested in their view as well. And it helps you decide how you feel about it. Maybe you go do more research after that, but I think you don't need to feel pressured to pick a side when someone's talking about something,
Agreed. You just take on, because people have their right to an opinion and understand from all sides. Right. You're live in 3 minutes on the other channel with Norm, aren't you?
I know.
Yeah. So let's say goodbyes to you now. So Melissa, how can people reach you?
You can reach me at melissa@empowery.com. You can go to empowery.com/contact, or you can go to Facebook on our page. It's facebook.com/empowerycoop.
Excellent. And to you, Karyn, how can people reach you?
They can just reach me on Facebook. I have kind of a different spelling as you see on the screen, but Karyn Meredy Thomas. And I'm happy to help in any way.
Sounds good. McClain?
McClain Warren. My company is Liaison Marketing, spelled LIAZON, marketing.com. Or you can friend me on Facebook. I respond to all Facebook messages. Again, McClain Warren, and I'm happy to answer any questions or anything you might need help with your business. So thank you for having me on your show, Danny.
Pleasure. And Cassandra?
Yes, Cassandra Craven, Cassandra_Craven on Instagram. And if you slide into the Helium 10 DMs, I am there answering them all. So be nice, and I will be that person to answer all your questions.
Yeah, and obviously if you slide in the DMs, make sure it's very pleasant and polite. And appropriate work related. Cool. Excellent, guys. Lovely to see you all. Enjoy the rest of the week. Guys, I'll be back here at 4 p.m. BST as always tomorrow. I'll see you then. Take care and look after your family. Bye.
Thanks, Danny.
Thanks, Danny.